It hasn't even been 100 days and we're already to the Nazi medal portion of the Trump administration? Really? My name is Brittany Page and this is the Page Perspective. If you're new here, please subscribe, or you can take some time, watch a few of my videos, see if you want to subscribe, whatever it takes, but I would really appreciate it if you would click the subscribe button. The Republican Party loves to tell you that they stand for freedom, but any brief overview of recent headlines suggests that they are desperate to restrict all kinds of freedom. We're getting proof of this nearly every hour, every day at this point. I mean, think of it, a legal U.S. resident who is still in detention more than a month after his arrest over his political opinions just missed the birth of his child because of that detention. The assaults on freedom of speech from Donald Trump and his Republican Party, including disappearing people from the streets for political opinions, are some of the most clear examples that we are now in a situation where our government believes constitutional rights can be trampled upon for any reason, including because Trump said so. And now, to add to this assault on your freedoms, the Trump administration is reportedly exploring how to increase birth rates because they don't like that some people are making the choice to not reproduce. This new reporting is from the New York Times. Quote, White House assesses ways to persuade women to have more children. Baby bonuses and menstrual cycle classes are among the ideas pitched to Trump aides as they consider plans to try boosting the birth rate. And we're off to a great start already, right? Menstrual cycle classes. We're going to go through a few of the highlights here, and then I'm going to lay out for you exactly why some of these ideas are directly out of a Nazi playbook, but also what the Republican Party could actually be doing if it wanted to incentivize people to have children. So starting from the top here, quote, the White House has been hearing out a chorus of ideas in recent weeks for persuading Americans to get married and have more children. An early sign that the Trump administration will embrace a new cultural agenda pushed by many of its allies on the right to reverse declining birth rates and push conservative family values. One proposal shared with aides would reserve 30% of scholarships for the Fulbright program, the prestigious government-backed international fellowship for applicants who are married or have children. Oh, wow. Now that sounds like a policy the Trump administration just banned, right? I guess they only want to mandate diversity, equity, inclusion for certain people. Quote, another would give $5,000 cash baby bonus to every American mother after delivery. A third calls on the government to fund programs that educate women on their menstrual cycles, in part so they can better understand when they are ovulating and able to conceive. Do these people think $5,000 would even come close to covering the cost of childbirth in this country? And I was curious about this question. How far would $5,000 go? And the answer is not very far at all. Let's look at this from Stat News. Quote, in a sample of more than 12,000 women, we found that having a baby in the past year is associated with a 31% increased risk of having medical debt. And 1 in 5 postpartum women carries medical debt. This finding, surprisingly, even holds true for women with private health insurance, the type covering most insured working age Americans. The findings remained the same when we adjusted for women's age, income, and other factors. Among new mothers without insurance or with chronic medical conditions such as asthma or gestational diabetes, rates of medical debt were more than doubled. Why are new mothers going into medical debt? Some women lack any health coverage and are unable to cover the average childbirth associated costs of nearly $19,000. However, even for many with insurance, the cost of prenatal, hospital childbirth, and follow-up care are simply unaffordable. Many privately insured families are burdened by high copays, insurance deductibles, uncovered services, or costs for out-of-network care. In fact, privately insured families pay an average of $3,000 for maternal and newborn hospitalizations. Complicating matters is that up to 20% of young people who have health insurance at any particular moment are at risk of losing it as their eligibility for various plans change. Seems like these are some of the issues the Trump administration could look at, right? these numerous barriers to incentivize childbirth, medical debt, a $20,000 average cost for childbirth, health insurance tied to employment rather than a guaranteed right to healthcare. And we aren't even getting into the cost of raising a child. This measly $5,000 is nothing. Now, here's where the Nazi stuff comes in. In this New York Times article, they quote a woman who loves to make the rounds in media promoting her pronatalist views. She and her husband are similar to Elon Musk in that they essentially believe their genes are superior and they want to populate the planet with those genes. And if you're thinking, oh, wow, that sounds like Nazi stuff, get ready. Quote, Ms. Collins, along with her husband, Malcolm Collins, sent the White House several draft executive orders, including one that would bestow a National Medal of Motherhood to mothers with 6 or more children. Now, it's not a good sign when your idea contained in the executive order drafts handed over to the President of the United States in 2025 is featured on the National Holocaust Museum website, describing the history of the Gold Mother's Cross. Quote, Mother's Crosses came in 3 classes. 3rd class, bronze, awarded to mothers who birthed and raised 4 to 5 children. 2nd class, silver, awarded to mothers of 6 to 7 children. And 1st class, gold, awarded to mothers of 8 children or more. The crosses were awarded to honor German mothers for their services to the German people and formed part of the propaganda campaign to promote large families, thereby increasing the population of the Third Reich. How many shared ideas with the Nazis do you need to have before you can be called a Nazi? Nazi medals, Nazi salutes, shared Nazi worldviews. Now, this New York Times article talks about the pro-family proposals put forth by these Republicans. But nowhere in this article does it mention the enduring attacks from Republicans on families that deviate from their narrow definition of what is socially acceptable as a family. This is a party that wants to ban marriage for LGBTQ people. They want to ban books in schools about LGBTQ people, including their relationships and, yes, their families. They don't want these types of families to exist. And it's not just LGBTQ people. We know that this is about race, and that's because the concerns about birth rates and efforts to increase birth rates always involve a focus on white people. I mean, we can look at how the Trump administration speaks about migrants, the actions they take toward migrants. One recent example that stands out for me is Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, who just recently said a Maryland family is better off without their father after they kidnapped him and sent him to El Salvador, even though he has legal protected status. I guess they're not pro that family, right? And if the current violence from the Trump administration against immigrants isn't enough for you to believe that these birth rate concerns are about white birth rates, just look at this from the recent Wall Street Journal profile on Elon Musk's effort to create a legion of children. Quote, Musk has said he is concerned about what he called third world countries having higher birth rates than the US and Europe, a person familiar with the conversation said. One of the most important ways to change these dynamics, he has repeatedly told people close to him, is for educated people to have more children. Some of you may or may not know that I was raised in the white power movement, so believe me when I tell you that this is a white supremacist talking point. These people want white people to have more babies, and they fear anyone else having more babies because they want to protect the white race. This is the great replacement theory touted by white supremacists. And I, for one, miss the days when our headlines weren't dominated by eugenics talking points from those in our halls of power. But what could the Republican Party do if they actually wanted to incentivize people to have more children, if they actually wanted to be considered pro-family? Well, they could stop interfering with numerous policies that make people's lives easier. provide them with more freedom and autonomy to make choices that allow them to create the lives they see for themselves. Instead, Republicans stand against things like the expanded child tax credit, which cut child poverty nearly in half in 2021. Imagine having the ability to eliminate child poverty and not doing that. And listen, if you can cut child poverty by 50%, you can eliminate it. If people weren't consumed by fear of how they're going to pay their bills, maybe they'd feel more like having children. Republicans stand in the way of expanding Medicaid, which benefits families and children. They want to cut SNAP, which feeds children and families. I mean, on the same day the New York Times ran this story on birthing, they also ran this one. EPA set to cancel grants aimed at protecting children from toxic chemicals. Or this headline about cutting funding for Head Start, a program that is essential not only for childcare, but for keeping working parents in the workforce. Cutting funding for Head Start should be read as a direct attack on women's ability to remain in the workforce. There are so many examples of the Republican Party proving how little they care about children and families given their policies. I haven't even touched on the maternal mortality rates or efforts to disband maternal mortality review committees or the lack of paid parental leave. And listen, I have an entire playlist on this channel called Poverty is a Policy Choice, and most of those videos are about Republicans' efforts to prevent Americans from gaining access to programs that would expand the window of opportunity for them to build the lives they see for themselves. You are not actually serious about incentivizing childbirth when you stand in the way of policies that make life affordable, that give people the opportunity to care for themselves and their families. And you're certainly not serious about incentivizing childbirth when you stand in the way of accessible birth control and, yes, abortion that ensures people have the ability to decide when and how they have a child. If you actually want to support parents and children, fund Head Start. Fund SNAP, Medicaid, parental leave, baby bonds, the expanded child tax credit, and yes, birth control and abortion, and leave the eugenics out of it. Tell me what you think. You can call and leave me a fewer than 3-minute voicemail at 202-656-1509 or send an email to idoubitit@dollemore.com. You can support my work here by clicking the join button below to become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month or by going to patreon.com/idoubtitpodcast. Please share this video. Please share my channel. Please click subscribe. Please click like. Please do all the things that feed the algorithm and make YouTube happy. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I will see you next time.